Before we jump into this, just fair warning that we may have some unintended interruptions. Hopefully we'll just roll with the punches if that happens. But hello again, this is Vas Vasiliadis, University of Chicago, which is where Globus is a service that we build and operate on behalf of the research community, as well as many commercial research partners. And our mission really is to drive greater efficiencies in data-driven science and research, and do so in a sustainable way. So we have a large and growing user base across the world in over 80 countries now. And the work that we do is funded by many of the federal agencies, as well as we have a subscription model that allows organizations to pay annual subscriptions in order for us to sustain the service. And we thank our subscribers for helping us and supporting us. And we're actually celebrating 10 years of operating the Globus service. We launched it at SC10 in New Orleans. So it's great to see how things have evolved and the adoption and the use that we've seen from the community. Before I talk about Caringo's connector for Globus specifically, I just wanted to cover a couple of common use cases for those that are new to Globus. So at the core of the service, we have a managed file transfer service that allows you to move data between different endpoints, as we call them, different storage systems. Caringo is, of course, one of those. We also have the ability for you to share data directly from those storage systems without having users create local accounts and without you managing temporary accounts. And increasingly, we're seeing people using Globus as a way to get data off instruments. And this is something that is at scale very difficult to do manually. So we've got different ways to automate this process and push data out to Caringo storage, as well as other types of storage, depending on your requirements. And with many research efforts, we have communities that want to share data sets with a broader group, perhaps in public forums as well, as part of agency mandates. So there are many efforts underway to create data portals that expose the data through Globus, as well as allowing people to download, to browse and search for data and download it directly through their browsers in point-and-click fashion. And in many contexts where people are doing HPC computing or other high throughput jobs, we have the ability with the Globus CLI to enable the stage in and stage out of transfers to and from Caringo and other storage systems as well. And so the way we do this is using a piece of software called Globus Connect. And together with the Globus for Caringo connector, you can use this, you install it on your storage system to turn it into a Globus endpoint. And that allows you to access not only Caringo, but also a number of other storage systems, as well as POSIX compliant storage. So with the Caringo connector, you have the ability to expand your connected universe, as we call it. And so with that, I'll hand it over to Eric, who can tell us a little bit more about the Caringo solution.
Great, thank you, Vas. So Caringo was kind of our history is that we've been in the market for quite a while, focused on object storage. We were founded in 2005 with our first release occurring in 2006. We're all the way up to major version 12 of our product, with hundreds of customers through a variety of verticals that you can see here. Let's go to the next slide. So specifically, when it comes to the high performance computing, these are some of the requirements in the pain points that we see that we help with and address, and that in HPC, you're looking at billions of files. A lot of other areas will be at that point, or are at that point, but HPC sort of leads the way with the problem of large, whether that be large files or large numbers of files. And then the pain point is that traditional file systems are hard to scale. Also, HPC demands that they typically have a hugely parallel set of clients trying to produce or access data. So this parallel access becomes is a requirement, but also is a pain point for traditional types of storage. Obviously, when you're producing a lot of data, you can't have humans be responsible for checking to see whether stuff is still protected appropriately, and take action to reprotect stuff if when you lose disk drives and computers. So you need the system to automatically ensure data integrity. You typically also find the need for a lot of different access protocols, depending on whether you've got instruments that are producing data or you've got users that are using programs that use modern REST APIs, S3, for example, to get at data. You quite naturally get into the need for multi-tenancy. You've got researchers, not just a bunch of researchers within the same organization, but you've got collaboration needs, cross-organizational. And then you need to be able to operate locally on data, meaning that this kind of goes into our story with metadata, where you kind of need to find needles in the haystack. It's not appropriate for you to say replicated petabytes worth of data sets in order to have you then search through it. What you need is a storage system that can help you find just what you're looking for inside of it. Let's go to the next slide. Oops, there you go. So our approach to HPC is really about try to consolidate data that you've got. You get this environment where you've got a lot of different kind of storage solutions, and you really need to unify into something that allows you to have these characteristics I was talking about. Lots of different ways to access it. You need security around it that is unified across those different access methods. And you need way to search in those data sets. It's not appropriate to have users go scrolling through petabytes of data. You need better ways to locate what you're looking for. Let's go to the next. And so to give you kind of an example of a pattern that we see in HPC, it's starting from left to right here. You're producing data through some sources, typically instruments. Those go into some kind of it's labeled primary storage on here, but really it's usually the storage that is local to the device or local to the place where something's being captured or produced from, but then very quickly offloaded into the preferred and distributed storage solution there, and that is ours. We have the ability to replicate to other Caringo Swarm sites, as well as to share data through the Globus connector, so that you can offload, and collaborate with organizations that have different technology than you. So Globus is really acting as the glue between these disparate sites.
Right.
And then,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that next slide, I think I think that one's yours.
Yep. So thank you, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
So just to talk a little bit more specifically about how the joint solution is deployed. What we have, as I mentioned earlier, are these things called endpoints, which are storage systems with the Globus Connect software and the Globus for Caringo connector deployed. So I'm showing here a cluster of such data transfer nodes, as we call them, that act as gateways to the actual storage itself. And then we have users that come along and access their data via Globus on Caringo storage using these things we call collections. So this is set up by administrators, and the users just show up with their normal username and password to access the data and move it and share it and so on. And by having this mechanism in place, one of the nice things, certainly for current Globus users, is they can add Caringo to their storage ecosystem and access it via the same familiar interface. They can also use it to move data from other storage systems to Caringo for better management, as Eric was describing. And when they do that, it's the classic fire and forget mode where Globus takes care of all the details, so you're not having to babysit this transfer. So if you're moving a lot of data to Caringo from something that has API rate limits, for example, Globus service will just take care of all of that for you. And at the end of the day, all research is collaborative. So being able to securely share data with your your project team and your extended community is really critical. So that's another thing that really adds value to your Caringo investment. And so with that, we'll put up some links here for folks to get additional information and open it up to questions. Thank you.